obviously you've seen a lot of the veterans play in that stadium before on a huge stages. But what did you see from some of the younger guys? I mean, obviously Brock and the young receivers, but you have a young lineman too. What did you see out of the younger guys?
Yeah, I mean, the main thing we want to see is growth, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for growth from practice 1 to practice 14. And what I saw was guys, starting to understand situation, in a small thing, like even with the O-line, from understanding the down and distance of the stance they're in, from Brock understanding what he can and can't do. I saw him take some check downs to get some first downs, which is good, understanding the situations. We also had some things that we got to work on, but all those young guys, what we're looking for is just growth in being a ball player, picking up the offense, and understanding how to operate in situations. That's the main thing. But what I saw some quarterbacks taking a check down, which is big. I saw receivers getting to the sticks and getting first downs. We still had a couple of deals with knowing when to throw it away, knowing when we got to, kind of tuck tail and just take it is for it is and not take big losses and things like that, whether a guy bust or we didn't get a check and things like that. So you just can't create those situations until they're in them. So as much as we can keep doing that in progress, but I like the progress because, the first scrimmage, we had a lot of TFLs and things that we didn't have to have. I saw us advance the ball, and every drive wasn't a touchdown and things like that, but I saw us advance the ball and get out of some tough situations, which I was proud of that.
Yeah, piggyback on that, you mentioned, you get one more practice. That's not a lot of programs where they have a spring game showcase and then have a practice after. So what kind of opportunity is that for you guys to grow and teach and, go into the offseason this summer and be able to be ready for that after just?
Yeah, it's practice 14 in reality. So we wanted to get that in and still have a practice of correction. So now we can go back, get it corrected, and one more time to go correct some things, which is the goal, is just, like we said, growth. So, we did the same thing. That's kind of how we've operated here. We always have that practice after, and I think it's good because now you go back, review the film, grade it, have a meeting, and then go out there and correct things that you saw from the spring game. Or most of the time, you kind of just is what it is. You get the meetings and you kind of roll. But I like having that practice to go back, watch it, and evaluate the tape just like you would at a game, and then go out there and get to it correct and make some more corrections.
Next will be Brendan, second row to your left. You spoke highly about Kentron Portier earlier this spring, and he has a really good day again today. Right. I guess, what have you seen from him throughout the entire spring? How big has it been that he's been so consistent through 14 practices now?
What you see, the confidence from the quarterbacks trusting him. So if he gets run coverage, they're going to him because that's how much belief he's given those guys. When you're doing a good job is when it's a critical situation and the QB looks for you. When you're getting that man coverage, that single coverage, and now the quarterback got to make a decision and he's going to draw. So, to have that confidence in him shows where he's at right now, and he makes the plays. So it's one thing to go to a guy if he's not making the plays, but Tron is making the plays. So, I don't want to, we've seen this all spring, though. I think we've had multiple times with multiple offensive coaches that brought up his name, and we talk about that true development, that position, man, from a guy that got in here and had to fight through, whether it be, being behind on the depth chart, other new guys coming in. He just kept fighting, and he's going to get to showcase what he can do and showcase his talent.
Next will be Logan, one row up.
What have you seen from CJ Campbell this spring, now going into also the spring showcase? What have you seen him being a really high competitor, it seemed like, throughout this camp?
Yeah, CJ, he always had a chip on his shoulder. Anytime you get a walk-on guy that comes into Florida State, he always going to have something about him that he got to climb up to the top. And to see to go through what he went through last year with the injury and bounce back, the good thing about it is when you see him have success, you see the team respond. And that's when you know that they're riding for him and they know what he's been through. And also, CJ is instrumental on so many things, whether it be recruiting, whether it be, just positive morale, all that, man. He's done a phenomenal football job. But so to see him run hard and have that toughness is in his DNA because, you walk on and go to a guy that's getting carries with the one group. Think about that struggle and that time. So I like what CJ brings. I got I'm tearing up from this damn thing. Like, holy. Go ahead.
Hey, Coach. I just wanted to ask you about the veteran leadership on this team, especially on this offense. You guys have brought in a lot of new young players, guys who could be contributors for you coming up. Guys like Jordan, guys like, Johnny, Trey, guys who have been here for a year now. How have you seen them rubbing off on these younger guys who are coming in and trying to make a name for themselves?
Yeah, veteran leadership shows in uncomfortable conversations because there's a lot of pride and ego out there with the type of recruits we brought in. the level they are, and the guys we brought in with the older guys. So when you see an older guy make a correction to a young guy, that young guy's response tells us where the relationship is. That's the reality of it. Like, if that guy snaps back at him, that means they haven't developed a relationship. The first key to leadership is relationship, because now you know the person that's getting on you shows that they have a relationship with them. You understand what I'm saying? So what I like about it is when you see our older guys, whether it be Maurice Smith getting on Julian Armella, whether it be Jordan getting on a receiver on a route or making a wrong deal, when you see a Tron getting on Deuce, when you see these things and there's no argument or bittering or back and forth on the sideline, and you have a little bit of confrontation because we're all in the moment, but when you see that, then you know their relationship off the field is glowing on the field, because when a player corrects a player in an uncomfortable situation, emotional situation, and they see that player's face, there's a respect level of eyes. Like, I know if he's saying it really means something to him. So we got to continue to build that. That's going to take some time. We got some new guys here, and we also got to get some guys some confidence to lead. Like, I'm like with Jaheim Bell. He's come in and just went to work. So he's earning that respect, and you see him, maybe not being a feature, but he's just like he's buying into it, so he'll continue to earn that respect, and he can be a leadership role, because I like the way he goes about his business. So, just having that real relationship off the field has been a benefit for us.
You mentioned 14 practices now to mix and match and evaluate what you have on the offensive line. How do things change now with the amount of data you've had looking at these guys over 14 practices as a talent evaluator, as a team builder? How do things change for you once the offseason hits and trying to configure these 5 guys to get them best fit?
Oh, yeah, man. It's not difficult at all because, number one, the room makes those selections. Like, we know who's taking care of business. We know who is putting in the work consistently and daily. So I think, the first thing is we had a couple of new guys coming in. We got some guys that's going through their first off season. Like Julian, this is his first off season. Sapp, this is his first off season. Jalen Early, this is his first off season. Then you add JB, KJ, and all these other guys, and Casey. Like, this is the first time going through the offense. So what we're building here is the identity of what we want to be, knowing who we are, how we work, picking up the offense, and then we'll start figuring out that 5 based upon the information that we've collected of what we saw consistently day in and day out. But, it's a good problem to have because we got a lot of guys that play a lot of snaps, but also, those snaps are in the past. Now is what you're doing here lately. And that's what I love about, coaching this position is all that stuff goes away. Those snaps gain experience, but, it's about what you did today. And that's what's going to make the determining factor. So you still got to bring it every day and still continue to prove, or you can get lapped too. So it's fun to create the competition, but I think the continuity has started to show up as we go back and watch it and see who's making the less mistakes, who's in position, and things like that. And it started to clear up once we get probably about that 3rd week of camp.
With all the guys you guys had coming back this season, all the veterans who played a lot, and Coach talked earlier about they need to have that same edge that they had last year. Now that everybody's talking about them, what have you seen now that you've been through several months since the end of last season in the spring in terms of like those older guys not just being back but really trying to go to another level?
Yeah, they don't have a choice, really. Coach creates an environment of improvement. Even looking at this room, we have our goal boards up and things like that. Like, it's just they have no choice. I remember leaving the second scrimmage, he challenged the coaches on just making sure our older guys are taking that next step. That's what he was looking for in particular, to make sure they were straining it to get that 1% better. So when the coach creates that, it gives you a chance to set the examples for the other guys. Like, man, look how he's coaching Jordan, look how he's coaching Johnny, look how he's coaching Trey. Like, I better be on top of my game, because if he's coaching him like that, then I ain't even had a carry yet in the game. So, it creates that environment of improvement. So, and also, like, we go back to the first question of leadership. If we don't have that from in the locker room and that push and that desire, and it's got to be coach-led, we're going to have a lot more problems than we bargained for anyway. So we've done a good job of establishing a culture of improvement and accountability. So we just got to make sure we're taking that next step to keep bleeding in ears as we keep adding people to the roster.
What today felt like, as big examples we've seen, just the depth y'all have kind of gradually built, really on both sides of the ball. But you can talk about the offensive line, and the offense as a whole. Just what's that do? Having that level of functional depth and, kind of reaping the rewards of those years of work now.
Yeah, man, I tell my guys one of the best D-lines you're going to face, man, in the country is the one we see every day. So, if you can go out there and compete with those guys and keep getting them better, and then they tell us, I was on the sideline with Jared, he's like, boy, them boys getting better. because he was out there with that first game. He's like, man, them dudes made it a little difficult out here. So I think that we're creating that competition with building our fronts. And if you watch us play ball, man, we're gonna play through the fronts. We're not an edge team, of culture and how we play and how we play physical. So, if you come back to practice and watch the drills, we do a lot of half line. We do a lot of one-on-ones. We do a lot of, toughness type drills, and it's starting to pay off. And it's also clean drills, where we still got guys, going in the spring that started in the spring, they're still going now. Because that's the thing, you see a lot of these spring practices, guys out there like that. I thought we've done a good job of attacking each other and getting that toughness, but still keeping each other off the ground, staying up and playing fast. So we're learning how to take care of each other too and not take cheap shots. So, it's just good. It's going the way it should be going when you're going into this year forward. We just got to make sure we keep that daily growth and that mind focus of what it's got to be moving forward with daily growth. And that's got to be the mentality. If we don't, it'll show up. Those flaws and those skeletons will come out if we're not attacking it that way.
As a coaching staff, you guys always talk about the response, but how great was it to see Brock Lynn, after the first couple series didn't go his way, to come back on that final, one of the final series and get that score? How big was it for the freshman to do that?
I mean, and we got to show that confidence in the package that we sending in to them. Like, hey, just because you did that, we're not gonna go out here and run, ISO 6 plays in a row. Like, we still believe in you. A couple of balls sailed on him. He had some guys, but to come out there and attack it again and go down and have a touchdown drive, that just shows who he is and what he's about. And that response we're talking about, even like with Rodney, he had one he put on the ground on the 4th down, and I said, man, you got to come back. And he came in with some tough runs there toward the end with great ball security. So that's what the practice is. Like, man, learning from those mistakes and creating those environments of response. And like Coach always says, we gonna respond. Now we want to swing first. We don't want to be 2-minute responses. But when bad stuff happens, we got to make sure we have the mindset to keep swinging and keep going, because that's what you got to have when you get in those close games, man. And you got to keep swinging.
Last one will be Chris, front row to your right.
After 14 practices, how do you feel about quarterback 2 competition? How those guys have elevated that of returnees and how Brock handled his?
It's gonna be fun to watch. It's going to be fun to watch because we got some guys in that room that have some good talent and starting to pick it up, and I saw some flashes out there. So, we're going to really see those competitive juices start to come out and start to flow and showing up in moments where it needs to show up, So, I think we got guys that's going to embrace it and go get it, So I can't wait to see the growth from when they get this film to what they do the next practice and moving forward throughout the summer because they know what it is now. They know what they got to be, so I'm excited to watch it.
All right, thanks, Coach.
No problem.